Welcome to this special episode of Red Moon Role-Playing, where we will play the adventure Contested Ground for the latest edition of RuneQuest. We recorded this session at Dragonmeet in London, and our Gamemaster for this adventure will be none other than Jason Durall, who is the line editor for RuneQuest at Chaosium. Hjalmar will play the warrior Arim, and Greg, the bandit Illaro, both of the Dolutha clan of the Hindarli Tribe in Old Tarsh. The two will represent their clan in a duel against the Two Brothers clan, and things will not go exactly as expected. Sit back and enjoy a journey to Glorantha, where the red moon has risen.
Let us begin. You are characters who are Old Tarshites. The Kingdom of Tarsh has been occupied by a horrific, awful group of people called the Lunar Empire. The Lunar Empire expanded into all of Dragon Pass, which is this heroic area of adventure, which is pretty much going to be ground zero for the hero wars. A lot of the Tarshites rejected their rule, and they sort of went up into the hills and have been fighting them for quite a while now. When the newest version of RuneQuest begins in the year 1625, an event called the Dragon Rise really transformed the entire political situation in Dragon Pass. At the height of what seemed like the absolute defeat of all of the people of Sartar and Esrolia and whatnot, an event happened. I won't go into too much details, but a dragon rose from beneath the heart of the lunar power, the Temple of the Reaching Moon, where they were going to basically cement their mystical domain over this entire area. And this dragon, like 10 kilometers long, rose up into the air under the temple, destroyed it and everybody connected to it, flew around the countryside, and then it landed at this gigantic mountain called Caro Fin, and it sort of curled around it. As a result, everything has changed. The Lunar Empire, their spirit was broken. Everyone else was like, yes, they can be fought. And so they began this fight, and now it's a battle for attrition, with them basically retreating. And their empire was extended by what they call the glow line, which is this sort of magical line of energy that creates the border around, almost like a force field, except it's permeable. And the glow line lets their sorcerers do all kinds of really potent magic. And so the glow line began to retract. You're all Tarshites. You've been fighting the Lunars for quite a while, but now they're actually retreating from your lands and falling back. So in this time, it's a lot more chaotic, but new power is beginning to assert itself, and in some cases, old rivalries that existed before the Lunar Empire came in are beginning to re-emerge. And in this particular case, a rivalry between your clan and another has become quite pertinent. You are, if I remember the names, Illaro and Arim of the Dolutha clan, or
Dolutha.
Yes, Dolutha clan, which is part of the Hindarli Tribe. The Hindarli are the over tribe, and you are part of the one of many clans within it. You have a rivalry with the Two Brothers clan. They and you have held this particular spot of land that you have a particular geographic feature that's on the edges of both of your clan territory. It is a watchtower called the Storm's Eye. It's at the end of this long mountain range, right over Dragon Pass, which is the actual literal pass that the entire area is sort of known for. So anyway, you're here. The glow line, it's not very well depicted on this map, but it's sort of right about here. So literally, if you stand at Storm's Eye, you can look out and see this red glowing.
Oh, it's visible.
It's visible. It's actually a visible field that sort of makes everything kind of reddish. So it's quite crazy.
Yeah, a little bit eerie, perhaps, if you would.
Absolutely, and no one likes living in it, which is another reason that you're all, quite eager to get your land back.
I see.
And push them out, because also their sorcerers are immensely powerful within the glow line.
Yeah.
And so, as a result, now that the glow line is in its gradual retreat, a lot of, like I said, these old rivalries are starting to come up. Now, this watchtower, called the Storm's Eye, was held in some regard by each of your clans. At a certain point, Ovardal, a past Hindarli chieftain, one of the head of the whole tribe, he declared that your two clans were really, this had become a problem. There were murders committed, people were killed, there was feuding, and it went beyond just cattle theft and the occasional fights. It was really becoming an issue till your two clans were basically at war. So he declared that once per year, you would each send a champion and a second to the tower. You would decide there who the winner would be. And you could decide how this would all handle. Generally, it involves physical combat, but alternate methods, it's really up to you. But at the end of the fight, when one of you has decided that that I acknowledge that this is the winner of this competition, you get to hang your banner from the top of this tower, and it is yours to visit as you will. And it's of immense strategic value because it's so high up that you can just see everything from here. And it also is an amazing point of pride. It's a really old watchtower. It's not very habitable because it's fallen into tremendous disrepair over the years.
Yes.
And it's far enough away that there's no source of water up there. It's it's significant to you. And so, as it happens, guess what? You too are the ones who were chosen. And you are riding your horses up through this very rocky area from the forested footlands and hills that you live in. And you're winding your way through these mountainous trails until finally you see Storm's Eye standing there in the distance. It's early morning, and the banner of the two brothers is dangling from the top of the thing. Of course, your village champion, Jorncolor, was defeated last year, and the stewardship of the tower went to the two brothers' clan. So now you're determined to get it back. And that is your goal, and though the members of your clan will love you and always embrace you as, kin, there's a little bit of you really need to get this back. So why don't you introduce yourselves to our listening audience?
Arim, 25 years old, and a warrior of the clan. I trained as a skirmisher. I have a fierce reputation within the clan, obviously, so we've been chosen to give in this role. They are aware of my passion for the tribe and for the lands and what I would do for them. And there are scars, quite notably, on my arms, visible of seeing my previous fights. And I am eager very much to prove myself here. I have no famous people within my family. I have a simple history as unknown grandparents, not very famous. If I'm going to make a name for myself, it's going to have to be me that will do the work.
Yes, and what god you worship?
I'm Orlanth Adventurous.
All right, you are a worshipper of Orlanth. Orlanth is the storm god that is overseas. He's the head of the Lightbringers, which are the 7 great gods of most of the peoples of Dragon Pass. So, and Orlanth Adventurous is the god who is really, he's the version of the god that is appropriate for adventurers and people who want to become heroes. There's also Orlanth Thunderous, who is priests who spread the booming power of his voice across the land. And then there's Orlanth Rex, the chieftains, the people who want to rule over the tribes and whatnot. And you can join multiple versions of these tribes. You can shift around. You could decide that you're no longer part of Orlanth Adventurous, but you're going to become part of Orlanth Rex, for example, if you wanted to become a king.
Have I had to prove myself in order to join the cult?
You're considered a lay member whenever your parents basically start taking you to the cult, to the church or to there. And then when you join the cult, you sacrifice a point of power, which is an attribute that basically represents your soul. And when you do that, you gain access to rune magic, which is the powerful magic of the gods and of the runes themselves, which are, as I said, sort of the building blocks of creation.
Right.
So that's when you get the cool stuff. And then if you want to progress into the cult and become a rune lord or a rune priest, then you would need to basically, you'd have to develop certain abilities. You need to show that you can be really good with sword. I think his weapon is the sword.
Mine was one-handed axe, actually.
Ah, well, then you were kind of an oddball in that regard. But you basically would pick weapons that are favored by your gods, skills that are favored by your gods, and then you would endure some sort of a test or tribulation to see if you could join the cult and advance into the membership and become a rune master.
Yes. And naturally, I see this as a chance to do that, to advance along the way.
A heroic deed is a heroic deed. You know, you can build your reputation. And in RuneQuest, reputation is actually a stat you have. And basically, it's measured in a percentage, and that's the chance that somebody else will know who you are and what you've done. And so whenever you meet somebody new, they might roll to check. Like, you would tell me your reputation,
yes.
which I think for your character is 20,
yeah.
which is pretty good for a starting character.
Nice.
And that means that basically, if you're within your area of influence, about 1 in 5 people knows about you. There's always room for improvement, though.
Yes.
And, you know, if they don't know about you, it doesn't mean that you're not famous. It just means that they haven't heard of you.
Exactly.
Our other heroic adventurer.
Indeed. I am Illaro, also from clan Dolutha. I am a similar age to Arim here. I'm a young lad, 25, full of fire and vigour, dark-haired, perhaps handsome to myself at least.
Oh, what's your charisma?
My charisma's 14.
That's quite good looking.
There we go. Even my distinctive scar on my cheek adds character. A nice, jagged, almost lightning bolt-shaped mark, caused, of course, by the Tusk Raiders who almost killed me. Way back when I was fighting those bastards in Old Tarsh. I have a little bit of pedigree to my name. My grandfather was a very famous man at the Battle of Grizzly Peak. My parents have also been fighters, and I have fought myself many times, although admittedly I tend to prefer to let the bulk of soldiers like Arim here do the main work. I'm more happy to come from behind, take the easy pickings, and get what I can.
Ah. So you're not a soldier outright?
No, I am a bandit.
Ah.
I make my money in coin, taking it from those weaker than myself. After all, to my god Humact, as long as they're dead, that's what he cares for. Doesn't matter the manner they die in.
Yeah, and as a bandit, you probably spent most of your time preying specifically on lunar citizens, you know, because they're wealthy and they are easy picking.
Easy pickings and deserve every blade in the gut.
Right. And, you know, if anybody else seems to be, you know, worthy of your attention, then you might as well liberate some funds from them.
Of course. Although I am loyal to my family and clan, I would never transgress against them.
All right.
But any of our enemies, especially these two brothers.
Okay. All right, which, since you have brought this up, brings up something I'd like to teach you about the rules, which I'm doing this also for the benefit of our listening crew. You have on your character sheets what we call passions. These are abilities that are rated. Just like you would have your one-handed axe skill or your sneak, your move quietly skill for your bandit, your passions are a rating of how you feel about a particular person, place, thing, concept, or ideal. Honor is a passion that I think both of you have at a starting level. And that basically is like you can, you know, that's about how much you feel about your personal honor. And your personal honor can be idiosyncratic to the point where you can justify something if it is based on your own, like your belief system. Things like loyalty to family, devotion to your god, or hate or fear, those are much more cut and dried. And what you can do with these is when you are playing, you can decide that you would like to augment an ability. So you would roll for your loyalty, or like let's say somebody in your family was threatened, or some action you were going to take would either be harmful to them or would benefit them in some way. If this passion came into play, you could roll on that. If you succeed in the roll, then you can add a benefit to whatever skill you're using to basically act on its behalf. Like if you have fear of dragons and a dragon comes up, well, that's interesting. You could say, my fear of dragons fills me with just adrenaline and crazed, desperate energy. So you roll, you succeed, and then you get a bonus if you decide to. So I'm going to hide from the dragon. Might be one thing you do, and it's like, great, you get a bonus to your hide skill. Or you could say, I pull up my sword and I charge the dragon. That's probably not a good idea, but it could be something dragon-like.
Maybe the dragon would. Its interest might be piqued.
Yes, and so basically, then you could get the bonus to that. You can also use these as sort of a guideline to how your character feels about the world. I might, for example, as a game master, challenge you on one of these loyalties or these hates or fears or something like that. For example, if you have a hate of lunar Tarshites, which I believe you do there, Illaro, and a lunar Tarshite comes into view or challenges you in some way. Now, you could say, oh, I pay him no mind. And I say, really? Because you have that as a trait. Yes. I'd like you to roll that. And what happens is you always have the freedom to act the way you would like to act. You can always make the choices as a player or as a character that you feel are right. But what I would say is if you succeed in your role of hating Lunars, I would say you feel very strongly inclined to do something about the fact that you hate this lunar Tarshite. These are the lunar Tarshites they're culturally Tarshites, but they embraced lunar ways and basically accepted the fact that they were a conquered people. Yeah. And you reject them because,
right.
Screw those guys.
And if you refuse, or if you don't act on it, do you get a minus then in the...
Yeah, what would happen is that, for example, you would be acting against your passion.
Yeah.
And it might be at the end of the session when I say, okay, let's roll for experience. We roll to see, and it might be that I say, simply put, you're not acting according to your passion, so your passion must not be that strong.
Yeah, something has changed within you.
Yeah, and so these are flexible numbers. They go up and down.
And is this, when you choose to use these, is that a limited amount per session, or?
When you choose to augment one, it's generally you want to do one per session.
Yeah.
Per one.
I see there are checkboxes there, so I was wondering.
Yes, whenever you succeed, you get a check.
Okay.
And so, and sometimes you can come up with enterprising ways. If it's a longer session that takes place over many days or has very distinct episodes to it, you can use it at multiple times. But for the point of this adventure, everything will be a one-shot. If you fail, that can penalize you based on the actions you're taking.
Right.
So you want to be careful.
So you can actually, become,
like if you
your fear can overtake you.
Yeah, I mean, if you fumble a passion roll, you can actually be distraught and confused and be unable to act because you're just like torn by indecision about, oh, but I feel so strongly about this, but I'm paralyzed with what do I do next? Yes. How do I act on this? So another thing that you'll see on your character sheets up in the upper third are these runes. The 6 runes that sort of cluster around the center, these are the primary elemental runes. And these runes sort of shape who you are as a person. Each of them has a different emotional characteristic attached to it and governs certain aspects of life. I will keep these kind of loose for now when we play, like if you're playing full 100%, more rigid, the players will all kind of know what their runes are and what influences they do. I tend to be generally also a little looser about things. But for example, if you have darkness as a rune, that might mean that you're a dark character. You're a little mysterious. You're reclusive. You generally prefer to be in the dark about things. If you have a high earth rune, if that's your dominant trait, that will mean that you are actually very worldly and connected to the earth at the same time. And you can have runes that have slightly different interpretations because everyone is full of complications and contradictory aspects to our personalities. When I was generating these characters, your dominant runes actually affect your characteristics, and those have all been figured in already, but because trolls are associated with the darkness rune, generally if darkness is your highest rune, you end up being a little bigger than the average human being. The other runes on the far end of the sheet, these are the power runes. Now these are all opposed. So if one of them is high, the other must be low. They always add up to 100. And so basically what that means is you sort of regard them, they're all opposite in what they actually mean. For example, fertility and death. You're very high in death, which means you like to see things die, yes. Or you like the finality of death. Whereas fertility, you probably have not much interest in having a family or children. You don't want to go out in nature and look at trees and revel in the beauty of the natural world. You're fascinated by the fact that all things must die, and mortality is something that happens. If you have a high movement rune, you're a very active person. You usually seek solutions that involve some sort of dynamic change or movement or rearranging of circumstances, whereas if your stasis rune is quite high, you like things the way they are. So basically what happens with those is sometimes you'll be tested, and you can also invoke the runes in the same way as your passions. Like if you say, for example, that offends me as somebody who is, into the death rune, so I'm going to try to augment an ability with the death rune.
And again, it's the same thing. You test, and if you succeed, you have augmented your ability.
You get a bonus to that skill roll. So now we can scope back to the actual the game session. You are riding up on Storm's Eye, on the hill that, or rather a rather rocky, craggy peak at the end of a long range of craggy, rocky peaks and mountains. And you are arriving. When you get there, and tell me if you would like to do anything unusual or any take any preparations ahead of time, or if you're looking for anything.
I look over the crags and the peaks, and I hear the echoing of the winds and the maybe the birds flying through, and I feel this is the time for great deeds, and I bellow out a song of victory, a song for us this day, and it goes, "Two brothers shall fall for the glory of all, and Hindarli shall stand, for Dolutha goes the land."
As he sings that, I will laugh a little and pause on my horse and take out my harp.
Oh.
For I do enjoy a bit of song and music, and I shall pluck my harp along because this amuses me greatly. Yes, a song of victory. A good song, Armin, a good song, yes.
All
Yes.
right. Well, there's nothing conflicting or in the way of your performances. You sound wonderful and your performances are great. If it is in a crisis situation where you need to play the harp to impress king or a tribal chieftain, or if you are singing to try to lure people into a false sense of security or if you're trying to augment a magical ritual or something, or a worship ceremony, then I would ask you to roll. But
do we have some such things?
Oh yes. Yes, you recharge your rune points that you can use to spend on your rune spells through taking part in worship ceremonies for your god. That will happen between sessions. Magic points, which fuel your lesser magic, your spirit magic, that's where you just basically say, "Hey, spirit of the world, here's a little bit of energy. Do a thing for me." And the spirit does something for you. Those depend on your personal energy, and that can regenerate with just sleep and waiting. So, though I'm going to make a roll, I will not tell you its purpose. Oh, but I rolled quite well. So, as you finish your song, it echoes throughout the hills, and you can hear it. It sounds marvelous, and you hear a loud, sort of a hoot, and scoffing noises, and what are some, I would say, maybe a string of profane words being shouted out, and half-hearted insults that I will not insult your viewing or your listening audience with the exact translation of. But you hear this coming from your destination.
And I look down to Illaro, and I smile. Now they know we're coming.
Ah, yes. Well, I guess we're not going to go for the stealthy approach, but perhaps on this occasion, who cares? Who cares, eh?
All right. You ride into the clearing where this ceremonial battle has been fought for a couple of generations, and then it sort of stopped while the Lunars were occupying the region, and now, of course, the new increased strategic potential of it has reignited these old difficulties that you were here to resolve. I would just like to ask another question of you. Why were you picked? Why you two? I mean, what made you the right people to send on this mission?
Having not had a very particularly interesting family history with no one of renown, I've always had the need to prove myself, and I survived the second year of the Great Winter by joining rebels, fighting the Battle of Orrock Hills. I aided King Broyan in awakening Orlanth. I survived the Noche Civil War. I was wounded by earth magic, by Ezrolians, and I witnessed the dragon rise. So I have a pretty impressive resume, I would say, for my age.
All right, yeah.
And I have been insisting that it is my time to prove myself, and I think I had enough of support within the actual clan that they would believe in me. There were some, of course, that wanted the glory for themselves, or who believed in other champions, but it seemed there was enough. And my friend here, Illaro, we've known each other for a while.
We have indeed, and he's a big talker, a big fighter, kind of really puts himself out there. I like that. Granted, not always my style. I prefer to be unseen when I get in there. But I enjoy glory as well, especially if it spreads a little chaos and mayhem. I think today could do that. And if he's happy to be the number one man, I put forth my support for him, and people know that when I commit to something, I commit.
I know that Illaro has been spreading the word about a little bit to those who were a bit more skeptical that I should actually be the champion.
I certainly have. I always say that if you can't be the main hero of your own glorious tale, you can definitely follow in the coattails of one. After all, more wine and coin for you.
And that's why it is the two of us.
Okay.
We go together.
So you've decided that you're the most likely person to settle this.
Most likely, yeah.
Indeed. At least honourably. And on this occasion, I will commit to my clan that they would like this probably to be an honourable, glorious tale, rather than one of, well, just sneaking up behind them while they're sleeping and slitting their throats.
Yeah, I will say one thing. One thing you do know about Gloranthan and Sardarite culture is that, which is this sort of grand area of which, sort of a neighboring area, and Tarshite is, whereas killing somebody in a duel, completely legitimate. Fighting somebody angrily and then confessing to it, completely legitimate. Murdering somebody in cold blood and not taking credit for it, that's pretty bad on the totem list. You generally, ideally, you want to either get some fame for killing somebody because they were a worthy opponent, or you want to at least defeat them and ransom them back to their allies, so their friends.
Perhaps I might leave those sort of fates for those dogs, the lunar Tarshites. At least today, no, we shall be spectacular.
I am expecting that it will be me to take the fight this time, but it depends also on what we are facing. If there should be something that Illaro would be completely convinced that this is something that I could take on.
You approach the clearing. You see a chariot, which is a kind of a rare sight up in the hills, but there is a road that is, passable enough. And two men are sitting at a campfire. They get up as you arrive. One of them is just clapping sort of mockingly. They sneer at you. They look very similar to one another, to the point where you realize they're twins, which is only too appropriate for the Two Brothers clan. Make a roll. This would be against their reputation. So take percentile dice. I have some here that you can use. And try to roll low.
56.
And 59. You've never heard of these guys, but you know, maybe you know that, you know, this clan, they live in sort of the lowlands area, and they really like chariots as a means of fighting the Lunars. And the Lunars are also chariot riders, or many of them are. So it's they've sort of taken up this decadent way of fighting, whereas your people are all ground fighting or riding horses. So anyway, they one of them is wearing what looks like heavy scale armor. They both got dark hair, thick beards. They're both youngish. They say, "Pretty song." Got the words wrong, though.
Oh, did we? Pray tell, what were the correct words?
Well, something about the two brothers being victorious at the end of this.
Ah, I
And
see.
they give each other sort of this, you know, the Tarshite equivalent of a high five. They're not particularly cunning or witty, but they say, we'll help you with the words later on, should you be able to speak.
Well, you'll probably find yourself surprised that the AI words have been updated from the last year. I don't blame you living a year behind.
Must be quite tricky after all, you know. I mean, you guys get so confused. What happens when you have a sister? Have to change the whole clan name.
So, did you bring your banner?
Of course.
You won't be needing it.
Oh,
They
how
look-
confident.
They look up and you can see, like, high above you, you know, you're in a little bowl-shaped declivity or at the base of this rocky crag, and there's this tower standing up there, and their banner showing, like, two brothers with arms linked over their shoulders standing there, and they say, "I expect that banner to stay."
Standing there and seeing this tower, and not sure. I don't know if I've been at this particular passage before myself.
Probably haven't. You had no reason to go.
It is an impressive sight.
It is. It stands stark against the skyline, and you realize that from up there you could practically see for tens and tens of kilometers, maybe farther. And yeah, it looks a little desolate. It looks like it's not in the best of shape, but it is quite impressive. It would look better with your clan's banner hanging from it, though. That's obvious.
I'm thinking that to myself. That would be the one
All right. Well,
improvement.
as I say, they have a campfire, and the wind is kind of moving through the hills, and it's quite chill. And they say, "But let us follow custom." And they, there's food, and they produce some leather bags of wine and some wooden jack cups for you to drink of. You probably brought some stuff to contribute, and that is a part of the ritual that was agreed upon, or that was ordered by your tribal chieftain, that you should dine together and act as civilized people before this.
I will not defy the traditions and the rules. They were set there for a reason. So I do go up and I give them an honorable greeting after this little exchange of words, and we produce our food and the drink that we have brought along with us as well.
Okay.
Indeed, I will sit and very happily help myself to that wine.
All right.
Although,
Now,
of course, I will give it a little examination just before I throw it back. A little sniff.
you could make a roll. Your perception skills, that would be, there's no real skill for, like, sniffing or whatnot, but I would say just make a roll for insight, perhaps, to see if it's a little suspicious.
So would that be, in this case, 25?
Yeah. You're basically looking to see, is this the kind of a person who would poison my drink? Watching how they behave when you drink it. You are convinced the wine is drugged. And you have basically fumbled this roll. So you look at one of the brothers, and he seems to be unusually anxious when you like raise your cup to your lips, to the point where you get a really disquieting feeling about that.
Yes, it seems like the sort of thing I would have done to someone else, at least. Still, I need to make a defense.
It's
Put it down slowly and go, well, addles the mind, doesn't it? Maybe enough time.
We could add some water to it. Is that the way children drink wine in your village?
Ho ho! A good jest. Clearly you're as witty as you are attractive.
And with that, he really doesn't care that much whether you drink or not, but they drink quite ably, this is Clearwine, down from Clearwine, which is several dozen kilometers away. It's a big town in a mountain fortress, not that far from here, in Sartar, which is the kingdom to the south of this. They introduce themselves. They are indeed twin brothers, Vastpur and Donbal, and they are both a little disappointed that you haven't heard of them. Now, I will see if they have heard of you. Your reputation is...
20.
17?
11.
17. And yours is 11. They've both heard of you. They have not heard of you. And so they recognize some of your deeds. And then one of them, he says, all right, I won't feel so bad defeating you. And he, toasts you.
And I toast them back, and I say, at least you'll be more famous, perhaps, as the ones that were defeated by me.
Oh, yes. Okay, so then after some pleasantries go by, I would like to ask you, this is also a great chance. As it's been decided, you basically have a meal together. After a while, you decide what the stakes of your battle will be. You can see this big, white chalk stone circle that indicates that frequently something happens in that circle. And it can be that you will wrestle each other until you can throw somebody out of the ring. It could be that you fight with blunted weapons until somebody either calls for quarter or is knocked out of the ring or is rendered defenseless. But basically the role is one person is in, the other person is out. There's no switch offs or tag in or out. You just basically decide the two people who enter, one person comes out victorious. What happens outside the ring is you can cast magic on the person in the ring. You can try to sing to hearten them. You can do whatever you want to do to make them fight better or do whatever you want. So there you go. The one thing that you really can't do is if you're on the outside, you can't interfere with the other person on the inside. And these are the rules that have been established. Beyond that, you can sort of suggest your own stratagems. You can also use some of your communication skills to try to find out things about them, or to try to perhaps bluff or intimidate them and see if you can get an edge that will carry into the combat.
I look them over as we talk, and I try to get an idea of what do they look like. Are they particularly well dressed? Do you have any stock features that would give them away as being warriors?
Okay, that's very basic stuff. So let's take your intelligence times 5 for that. Your intelligence is over on your character sheet. You are
13.
13. So 65 is the total. So you would basically roll to see if you can get under 65, and that could tell you what you can figure out about them based on the questions you asked.
29.
You have succeeded. You see that they're both seasoned fighters. They are clearly, from the way that they handle themselves, they are clearly accustomed to fighting together. And you might be able to use that to your advantage in that they are basically, you can tell from the way they defer to one another that even though they're twins, the slightly larger of the two, Vastpur, he's the, the big brother. Mm-hmm. They've fallen into a big brother, little brother role. And Donbal is the one who does a lot more of even just the way he hands him stuff and he pours himself a cup and then, there's this, or he pours his brother's cup before his. Mm. And you get the feeling that he's the guy who probably pilots the chariot. Yeah. And then Vastpur does the fighting.
Yeah.
And so he's clearly the one who is favored to be stepping into the ring with you. He's wearing heavy scale armor. It's a bit heavier than yours, which might be a disadvantage to him. And he is, it looks like he's skilled with a spear and he actually has adopted a lunar weapon, which is a little weird, a curved sword, because the Lunar Empire worships the moon. A lot of their weapons have a curve to them, and he's got a weapon kind of like a khopesh.
Mm.
So
I remark upon that. Did you pluck that one out of the Lunar Empire?
Yeah, I took it off the ground from the man I killed.
You did?
I recognize a good piece of iron, or a good piece of bronze. Everything is bronze. Iron is the next level up, and that's got magical power. So
Can I feel it?
Shink! He draws it, hands it over to you.
I weigh it in my hand.
It's a heavier than a regular broadsword, because it has to have that sort of heavy curve to it.
I notice this and simply scoff. Ha! There is nothing that the Lunars have that's worth anything, even a good blade.
Well,
We make better.
yeah, it's called a copis, the type of sword that is. And he says, learn from the enemy.
Yes, and the lessons are about to begin.
And at this point, I sort of muscle forward a little and say, just remember, honor, yes.
Oh,
Even
absolutely.
catch a hint that you're trying to deceive or trick us. We will be swift. I'm very good at taking those out who cross me. And I give them a sort of wolfish smile that sort of shows off my chin, and I'm trying to be intimidating.
All right, here's a question. Are you going to, before you make that roll, are you going to try to augment that with either one of your runes or one of your passions?
Yes, I would like to try and augment it with the power rune of death.
Okay, that's a pretty big gun to bring out, but quite all right. If you, why not go out swinging with that? Smoke it while you have it, so to speak. All right, so try to roll under your death rune. 12. Excellent. That is, in fact, a special success. A special success is 1/5 of the total you need. You have a 75, so anything 15 or under would be successful. You have rolled a 12, which means that when you are rolling, you will add, it is a bonus of 30 to your skill. So you add 30 points to whatever your skill is. Your intimidate is
65, which makes it 95.
it makes it a 95. And so the one thing, just remember, you can check your death rune. It's not because we'll be figuring out experience at the end of the session, but it means you have evoked that. It will stay into play till the end of the scene, so to speak. So
yes, I give this sort of wolfish smile, and perhaps you just see a glint of the rune of death above me today. That is a
61.
61.
Yeah, no, you very clearly succeeded in intimidating them. The rulebook, because this is one of those things that has some special effects or special events to it, intimidate. You have succeeded in intimidating a foe. So basically, I will modify their actions by a certain amount. Well, they're suddenly a little worried because they thought it was going to be very straightforward with a simple fight with one of these maybe weakling Dolutha clan guys, and then suddenly you're putting the fear of death into them. And so they're like, these guys might be crazy. You have suddenly come across as quite a bit more dangerous than they thought you were.
And I just smile and lean back.
All right.
Say now, there's no need to honor Mukt today, but I'm always happy to honor him when it's needed.
All right. So with that, just casting a pall of a death, the intimation of death, suddenly they sort of say, well, let's get this settled now. How shall we fight? You can call.
And this is interesting. My strongest suit has always been fighting defensively. It's always been using my shield. And if we're going to try to shove each other out of the ring, I think it would be interesting to have a bit of a shield fight.
Okay, so are you just saying you want to fight with just nothing but shields, or do you want to you can always use your shield offensively.
Yeah.
A shield-only fight is a little odd.
Yes, it's fun, isn't it? I mean, I was thinking to myself, I'm looking them over and seeing this, but I am curious to see how he would swing this sword if he would use it, but we're using padded sword then.
Yeah, or just keep your swords in their scabbards, and basically you're not fighting to the death. It's absolutely, I mean, something could happen, but it would be extremely dishonorable for you to do an honor duel with somebody, basically, and then to kill them in the middle of it.
Oh, of course. And again, we are allowed to cast our runic magics on our champion from outside the ring.
Yes, you can bolster your fellow with any sort of magic, or
familiar with the magic of shield.
Yeah, he's got a magic, or he's got a medium shield. Oh, he's actually quite good with a large shield. Mm-hmm. All the better to use on a chariot. So so he will. You can see it hanging on the outside of his chariot. Yeah. In fact.
Well, I'm thinking maybe I could use my smaller shield to an advantage to knock his aside and come in close somehow.
He looks a little perplexed. He looks down at his copis, his sword, and he feels like he's been robbed of an opportunity to hit you with it. But he accepts the terms of your duel, for that is the way of your people, to let the loser of the previous year decide what the duel will be. All right, so then he says, shall we get it on? Taste of this wine has gone bitter in my mouth. And he gives a sidelong look at Illaro, whose subtle intimidation caused him to lose the jesty spirit that he had. So he gets up, walks over to his chariot, unstraps his shield from the side, takes his sword belt off, leaves that, takes off his dagger and a couple of other, actually that's all he's got, leaves his spears in the little panniers on the thing, and he steps forward. He's got his shield up, he'll be using it sort of both-handed, and he says, when you're ready, let's enter the ring.
And I stand up, and I also loosen my weapons that I have around my belt. I put down my axe, and I bring in my medium shield.
All right. And he has invoked his honor rune. He is not going to lose this, so he's actually successfully invoked his honor ability. So he gets a bonus to his actions for this round. You can only have one augment going at any given time, so it's sometimes a strategic goal, like which one do you do? Is it relevant? For him, it's a point of honor. He can't lose. He can't be the one to let this let stewardship of this tower fall into your hands.
And what does he put that towards? Or we don't know that, perhaps.
It's going to be any of his combat actions, anything that keeps him from losing his face. So, like, if he behaves honorably towards that passion, then he will get a bonus to his attacks and his efforts at defeating you.
All right.
And you can do the same if you wish.
Yes.
You can use a rune, or you can use a passion. It is up to you.
Or so you use that, and yes. Could I invoke my air rune to keep me swift?
Absolutely, if you would like to. Basically, then that would mean anything you're doing in maneuvering or like dodging around or whatnot, that would be applicable for that.
Yes. I am hoping to instill in him some belief that I'm going to try and wrestle him with brute strength, when I will actually try to dodge around him and twist him out of the ring.
Okay.
Swift pushes.
That sounds very cool and strategic. I'm looking at him as an NPC. I'm actually basing him off another character's stats. And he has no relevant magic that he would feel like using against you for the purposes of this combat. So he is probably not going to cast any magic during the thing. You have certain spells you can use if you would like. I can give you a guide in what you've got. Well, casting rune magic is pretty epic. You do have shield, which makes you harder to. It basically makes you harder to hit and be injured. You could cast that. A lot of the common rune spells are of far too much specific use, and your spirit magic. Blade sharp, you're not using a sword. Mobility would be very useful, and strength would be very useful.
Yes, I'm interested in both those.
Okay, and each will last for 2 minutes. So functionally the duration of the combat round. Each combat turn is 12 seconds.
Yeah.
And so the likelihood that the combat will, between two guys who are basically not trying to kill each other, you're probably not going to go beyond...
Yeah, all right. So do I need to roll anything?
You will need to roll. You'll need to roll your power times 5 or less to cast either of those spells. And then you will spend magic points to do them. The amount of magic points each costs is listed after the spell, and your power is your soul, and that is 12. So 60% chance for either one.
All right. And do I need to do anything to invoke the air rune? Or as I said,
You need to roll that.
for that as well.
So,
Let's start with that then.
all right.
28.
Success. So I can give you a little sticky note if you want. I find them quite useful. Or here, I'll give you a little slip of paper. You can keep track of the fact that you have a bonus of 20% on your movement, or your air rune, which is also pretty good for moving around or whatnot.
Does that affect my casting of mobility?
Absolutely, I would say. Normally, it is a little rare to try to invoke a rune to cast a spirit magic spell, but it can be done and makes sense considering your strategy. So go ahead. That will add 20% to your 60.
So 80 then
80.
for casting mobility.
62.
Yes.
Same roll twice. Yes, you have succeeded. So you now have mobility cast over you. The mobility spell, I think I described it on this page. It doubles your movement speed and reduces your strike rank by 2. Your strike rank is the speed in the round in which you strike. The lower, the better. So I start with a countdown of strike ranks. I begin at 1, and then in order of 1 to 12, that's the order that you'll act at.
All right.
1 being very low. If you cast any magic, that usually happens on strike rank 1 or 2. Rune magic always happens at the first, because it is God magic. It's fundamental magic of the universe, and it happens before anything in the material world. And then spirit magic happens depending on how powerful the spell is. It takes longer to cast a more complicated or powerful spell.
All right.
And when you invoke your air rune, let it be known. When you bring this up, like the wind howls around you, your hair blows, it's obvious to everybody concerned that a primal force of nature has been invoked and brought into play. This is not something, like the runes are not just little subtle things. And so, yeah, like the wind whistles by you and circles you. It's almost like a tornado surrounds you for a moment and then settles into your skin. And so he knows. He's probably going to, he's invoked his honor, so he can't really, do another invoke. And functionally, you're still getting both bonuses to your stuff. And then the other spell you were going to cast was Strength.
Strength. We'll do it as well. We'll just bolster ourselves here. Yeah. And this is...
in combat, it makes more, it's more strategic, second by second, how long are you taking to do this? But for the purposes of an honor duel, he's going to stand back and let you get ready.
Yes.
And
this is also the time for me to really make something of myself, I feel like. Let's put it all on the table. So let's do that as well then. Strength. But that is 60 then, you said. Or 65.
60.
60.
Yeah, your power times 5. 20.
Yes.
It looks like that was a success.
Yes.
Great. So you now have cast your strength spell.
Which is plus 8 strength.
Yeah, so now you feel the surge of energy and your thews become like iron. And you, what this means is that if you do, say, something that is pushing against somebody or doing a strength versus strength roll, you'll have a plus 8 to your skill or your ability, and I think it also increases your damage bonus.
Yes, from plus 1 or 1 step.
Yeah,
plus
and
10%
yours
to agility and manipulation skills.
And I think your damage bonus is 1d4, so it'll go up to 1d6, which is quite nice.
Yes, and I feel this, and I feel the whirling about me, and the spirit magic falling into place, and I do feel that they are with me today.
All right. His brother is watching you do this, and then he steps over and puts his hand on his brother's shoulder. He actually casts a rune spell, and that will be, let me roll the dice here, 39. He succeeds, and there's a moment where he is surrounded by, like, his skin takes on a very rough, almost earthy tone, and then it like settles into his body, and you get a sense that he's going to be a little bit harder to hurt.
Well, the setting is like the core difference between the spirit sort of magic spells and the rune magic spells.
Well, rune is, again, like fundamental forces of the universe. They're much more powerful. They last for 15 minutes, and they have a tremendous range. Spirit magic spells are they have very powerful effects, but they are also very ephemeral. They can be easily resisted by another force that beats it in a resistance roll. And it's basically you coaxing. You take a little bit of your soul energy and you give it to the world, and the world, the spirits that inhabit everything in the world, decides to help you out there.
I see.
So they'll it's an easy way. In old days, this used to be called battle magic, but I think when they realized, upon describing it, there's so many more things that you can do with spirit magic than just fight. So it became spirit magic. And was a good way to distinguish the two, because you can use rune spells in battle as well, so it didn't make much sense to call them battle magic.
Yeah.
All right, so it is. And then as you begin, or he steps into the ring, he looks like he's ready. His brother begins to sing a victory song of his own. I will not inflict upon you my rendition of a song, because both my voice is a croaking ruin, and
you are excused.
Yes, and I am a terrible, terrible, terrible singer. So, but I am not the one singing. It is Dunball who will sing a song of defeat for you. And it's not particularly good. He rolled a 75, which is well in excess of his sing skill. So basically his tuneless, off-tone singing, which would be much like my own then, fills the air, and in fact it seems vaguely irritating rather than moving or even enervating.
Yes, in response, I shall casually sit back on a rock nearby the duel arena, take out my harp. Now, I'm not a great singer myself, but I think I'm pretty good with the harp, and I shall not play a rendition of the song we did earlier, but actually a rendition of an old Dolutha clan song.
All right.
And I will invoke my loyalty to my clan. Inspire me to play that song as best as I can.
All right, so he's all stacked up with his buffs, basically, if you want to use the parlance of the day. But what this will mean is basically you'll provide a wonderful background for the event. And this could earn you some reputation as well. I mean, if he goes back and he's like, that guy could really play.
So I shall, first of all, invoke the loyalty of my clan to hopefully get a bonus to this roll, which is a 26.
All right.
So that gives me a bonus of
20
to play instrument, which is now 16.
All right.
And so playing my instrument.
Another 26.
All right. Well, that's a little odd. I should report that back to the dice makers. But yes, after a few notes and you get into the melody and you begin strumming, the artful playing of your clan anthem, so to speak, pretty much drowns out Dunball's mediocre singing, and he stops. So you are in the ring now, and Vastapor is circling, looking for an option, and so he's got his shield ready. At this point, I'm going to bring out the strike rank counter, and I will begin at strike rank 1. Your strike rank is determined by your shield skill, which is on your weapons over here, and it would be the SR -1 because of the spell you have on you. So what is your strike rank?
7.
Okay, so you'll both pretty much strike simultaneously. All right, so then I'm just going to, because you're not going to really do anything other than you can move if you want. That's well within, like normally you can move a little bit and around up to your movement rate, but since you're really constrained, you're in this circle about probably about 4 meters across. Plenty of room for footwork, but not a lot of room for like a short sprint or anything like that.
No, fair enough.
Far enough that you could leap across it or whatnot, but you couldn't get a really good charge going.
Yeah, no, okay.
All right, so
basically we go into each other and we clash then.
All right
same
then.
Strike range.
Yeah, so we'll just say that. So each of you will roll your attack. So he's going to basically come up and just try to bash you. He's basically going to try to just bowl you over and knock you out of the thing. So you will either use, I mean, in this case, you can either parry with your shield, which is to say to knock his aside so that his attack doesn't match yours, or you could use it offensively. It's the same roll, but you could decide what you want to do and get your shield in so to the point where you're actually, immovable force, unsolvable object sort of thing, where then you could bring your strength to bear against his.
Which I think would be good in this instance because I feel it's flowing through me and my muscles have been infused. And yes, I will start with that. I will start with a basic strength check against each other, yes.
Okay, so first he will roll to attack. And you can roll at the same time. It's up to you. As a matter of fact, because you're a player, go first.
Wow, thank you.
What is your chance to parry with a shield?
Chance to parry?
Yes. It's the same skill either way.
Is it this medium shield skill?
Yes.
90.
All right, so at a 16, you've actually achieved another special success. Let's see how he does. 97. He has, in fact, failed his roll. So basically, which is staggeringly bad, because he has a very high skill. So he managed to just go right over that. So you, in fact, you strike him with your shield. He was moving, and he just moved wrong, and you somehow bring your smaller shield in, and you hit him with it, basically. Make your roll. Are you trying to damage him, knock him down, or... As a matter of fact, wait, let me tell you, you are in luck, because your special success against a failed attack means that you get to do your special damage, and for a shield, that is a knockdown. So, let us see, this could be over quite quickly.
Yes, and that is what I'm hoping to. I don't intend for this to last too long. I will use my finesse and try to use my superior balance, speed, and strength to twirl around and then knock him out of the ring.
Roll your regular damage for your shield, which is listed on the sheet.
Yeah, medium shield, 1d4, which is increase
DB. So basically, for a shield, what you're going to roll is you're going to roll your 1d4 for damage, and then you're going to double your damage bonus because you've achieved a special success.
Okay.
So you got a 2, and then d6. Here, you can roll the second one. Yeah, because it's double your damage bonus. So you've done a combined total of 9 to him. Take a look at this, and that is the hit location to see where exactly you strike him with the bulk of your shield.
The mighty dice.
Left leg.
To the left is left.
Left leg. So yeah, you hit him high in the leg. He's thrown off balance. That actually goes through his armor. He has 6 points of armor on his left leg. So you get through that, and you actually do some damage to him, which is pretty significant. But wait, there's more. Oh yeah, he does have a point of shield on, so it's reduced. You still do 2 points of damage, but your special damage for his shield, it is basically a knockdown. Let me find that.
When I
That's what you
see
do.
the battle going as well as it is, I do from the sidelines just let out a chant of, for Dolutha!
Okay, so you've made a body tank. You have succeeded. What is your strength plus size?
25 plus 14, 39.
39? That's very impressive. His combined strength and size are 29, so you have a 10-point advantage over him. Now we're going to basically roll what is called a resistance roll, where there's a table, the resistance table, but I have all the formulas memorized, so it's quite easy. Basically, you've got a 95% chance to knock him down. You rolled so much better than he did, and you have this ridiculous magical augmentation over your strength. So, all right, 95% chance to do it.
You rolled 22.
22. He is, in fact, it's not a special, but he is knocked down. He's knocked back 1d3 meters. Now, I've said that the ring is about 4 meters of ride. Let's make a luck roll. I'd like you to make a luck roll. That's another percentage dice roll. It's based on your power times 5. So you'll have 60%.
60%. See if I have lucky. If we're knocked down.
Oh, you've also got the augment going at the same time for this is part of your honor thing. So, yes.
This is true, so it would be 80 then.
Yes.
But I did roll, and I rolled 42.
All right. You have succeeded in doing this, and, good for you. You actually managed to get him within the point where he could conceivably be knocked out of the arena. So he's going to be knocked back 1d3 meters, which I'll roll the d6. It's possible, if you get a 2 or 3, that he could be out. He, as a matter of fact, staggers back, his foot stumbles, and he exits the ring. Falls down probably on his right hip and just howls in anger, and he drops his shield, and you can just see his head rocking back, and he's incredibly dispirited at being taken out in a single brutal blow.
And I will comment, which would you like us to add to the song? That the two brothers were defeated in 2 seconds, or that the two brothers could barely even hold half a second between them?
His brother on the outskirts says, "You can take the song and along with your pretty harp, and you can." And then he looks up, and you see something unusual across the sky, almost like a comet or something. This dark shape just kind of thrashing around in the sky. It's hard to tell what it is, and it crashes into the top floor of the tower itself. Rocks crumble and fall to the ground, clattering down and landing around you. There's a moment of pause, and then you hear this horrific bellowing cry that just echoes throughout the hilly range. They look up at you for a moment, and they look over to you, and Donball, he says, "Well, that's your problem now. Come, brother." And he reaches out, gets his brother, helps him up. His brother's limping because his foot's still injured, and or his leg is still hurt. And they leave all of their camping supplies, basically, the food and the meal and the other stuff. They get into their chariot, look up at the thing, and say, "We'll come back for our banner next year." And their chariot rides away, clattering.
I look a little surprised, and I almost yell to the wind as they are probably long gone.
Well, it's not instantaneous, but yeah, you're wondering.
I yell, "The two brothers? Is that what you're known for? Running away and losing fights?"
I give a long breath out after that quick sort of exertion that just happened so fast. But my focus is quickly taken by this. And is the banner tumbling down from the tower? What's going on?
Yeah, it did. It was knocked loose, and it flutters to the ground and lands in a pile alongside the arena or the little ring.
And I just look up at it in the tower. And what was that?
You hear this loud bellowing roar again. It sounds both in pain and anger.
And what do we see up there?
You could make a scan roll to see.
Yes, I'll move forward a little and start
But you
scanning the
see
horizon.
the tower. All right. Make a roll.
So my scan is 55. That is a 30.
Yes.
30.
You can't see anything specifically up there, but you did notice that something knocked over a section of the wall, the little ridge, like a fence up there that holds the top floor. You've had the tower described to you.
Yes.
The top level is an observation floor for watching out, and there's used to be a little roof up there. It's partially fallen and a rail, and part of that has been knocked down.
Right.
And something up there is moving. You can see just little bits of it.
What's that noise? Do I recognize it from anything I've ever heard before?
That's a good one. Do you have, hear me out, an animal lore skill? That would be on your list of skills.
Do. It is not very high, but I do have some.
Another role that might work would be a farm. And you can use augments, or you can use skills to augment other skills. Now, because you're still under the influence of your air rune, I am actually going to be a little loosey-goosey here and say that this applies for reasons you don't know.
Well, the wind is carrying the sound down. I don't know what it is, but I am listening intently when I hear that noise, and yes, I will use my farm skill then.
All right.
I do love working with the animals. It is part of my duties.
I mean, that is one characteristic of RuneQuest as well. There's the notion that you actually live in a world. You have duties, you have farming, you have to manage a household.
So yes, I will use my farm skill, which is then amplified slightly. Plus 20, is that?
Yes.
And I roll a 32. Under what would be 50 then?
All right. There is something, it almost sounds like, you've heard bulls being branded before, and it has a characteristic of that sound. Like if you didn't know better, you would think that it was some immense bull being perhaps injured or tortured or enraged. Hand me your character sheet. I'm going to have a secret roll, or rather, I'm going to ask you to make a roll that you wouldn't necessarily know. I don't need the front. I just need the skill. Make a roll for me. You will want to get a percentile dice roll. Yeah, under 55.
Which I do not.
Okay. There's something nagging at the back of your head that seems all too familiar, but you can't quite place it.
Whatever it is not taking my glory today.
Not only did we defeat their champion in single combat, swift as the wind, but then a beast tried to stake our claim. And we went and cleansed it from this world, just as swift, while the two brothers fled in shame and dishonor.
Ha ha!
The roar sounds again.
I go and I grab the banner and I sling it over my shoulder, and I take my bronze axe along with my shield.
Wait.
Yeah, you're still...
Even though in the story, of course, you will bravely charge right away, in reality, let me just have a look first. Yes. Give you some information first, friend.
Yeah.
All right.
And
So
I shall attempt to move... Well, I'm going to do it all, really. I'm going to try and stealthily make my way up there by moving quietly. Yeah, no, I'm moving quietly. I'm not...
all right. Okay.
Yeah.
So make a move quietly roll.
I think... As I'm quite nervous, I do kind of get quite excited, and maybe perhaps I do invoke the rune of movement.
Okay. So you'll basically, you have recently, you've cast Death recently, but that was basically another scene. And so you were also casting, you did the family loyalty.
Yes.
But that was, again, I sort of view this as the next scene.
Yes, and the general rule of thumb is it's a once per scene.
Yeah. And like I say, generally, you sort of should keep these stacked, but I'm, again, I like to let people evoke things. And so, yes, try.
Very good, yes, I shall invoke the rune of movement to make my movement swift and careful as I make my way stealthily up to this tower as best I can. Rolling...
11. And your rune is?
16.
That is indeed a special. Add 30 to your move quietly. Or anything related to
yes,
movement.
now
So if you,
30,
for example, wanted to climb, you could use the same.
No, I shall move quietly because I don't want whatever this thing is. Maybe to know I'm there until, well, it needs to. However, even with all my bonuses, 45, 55, 75, 86 isn't it?
Unfortunately, your boots or your sandals make a little bit of clattering as you head up. You realize I am making a little noise. But do you continue?
I must continue.
All right, you enter the tower itself. It's a well-fortified tower. You're not entirely sure who would have come to fight something, but this tower has probably been here longer than this age. It's easily thousands of years old. And it has, parts of it have fallen apart, but it's basically a sort of oblong, I would say it's almost like diamond shape in configuration with the rounded side looking out. You enter through a door here that once held a stout wooden door. It's probably long since gone. You enter and there's a staircase that sort of winds, leads to a couple of platform areas where in days gone by were where soldiers would hang out and garrison guards would be. And then you continue on to the top, and you can see that the sections of the wall are missing, so light is shining in, and whatever that thing is, it just echoes throughout the entire tower interior.
Well, I try and see if I can at least get a glimpse of it. I'm scanning around.
All right.
Where is this?
Okay. Oh, all right. You can try to scan roll. See if you can spot it without being spotted.
3.
03. That is probably. What's your skill?
My skill is 55.
All right, so that actually rounds to, it's either a critical or a special. Both, you are successful in seeing what it is. There's a hole in the floor large enough, and you can see on that, it's a large creature, almost like a bull, if you will. And blood is even dripping down from the gaps in the floor down into the tower interior, spattering on the ground below you as you're heading up the stairs. And you can see it looks like a bull with horns and wings. And you can see its wings, one of them might be broken, and feathers, or even a few feathers, flutter down through the holes. And you can see that this creature is in a lot of pain, and it's been very messed up, probably more than from just the crashing into this thing. And you can even see it's breathing heavily and with difficulty. It's probably got some bones broken from the collision, but you can see that it's got long furrows torn in its hide that are glistening with bright red blood. And the whole thing is like this grayish color, so the blood just gleams.
Hey, look at the beast. I look to where it came from. What do I make of this?
You could make an idea roll.
Yes.
To see or a animal lore roll to see if you would know that.
Animal lore of 20, what would be an idea?
Animal lore would be your intelligence times 5, which would be a much higher ability, but animal lore would tell you exactly what it is, where idea might give you some ballpark figures.
Well, maybe we'll try the animal lore first.
All right.
Admittedly, I'm not that familiar with a vast bestiary of creatures. Especially in this case, 96.
Okay, yeah, you have no idea. It's not quite a fumble, but you are just clueless about what that could possibly be. I mean, winged bulls. Every manner of creature has wings on it somewhere.
Yes.
It's all too common.
Perhaps then the idea roll to be less what it is and more what does even house this. Why is it suddenly fallen through into our tower? 61.
And your
my intelligence times 16 times 5?
80. So, yeah, you are actually, well, you know, of course, that there's the great god Stormbull, who is an allied god to Orlanth. You don't worship Orlanth, but he does. And many of your people of your tribe do. And the Stormbull, well, the flying bull, it doesn't seem like too loose of a connection there. I mean, you think, maybe that's related. I don't know. Seems likely. You may have even seen some sort of a carved stone bull on some Orlanthy temple in your town or your village.
I am divided on this. On one hand, taking a great prize of a beast is a glorious thing, but it's wounded, and I have that feeling that weight could this not actually be an insult? If it is indeed, perhaps, the animal of one of our very gods. But I am unsure of both these things. Maybe Armin will know better. I will try and sort of backtrack a little and sort of motion to Armin to come up, not call out, but motion with some swift movements.
Yes, I have been slowly making progress behind you, leaving you, giving you some berth to move silently, you should try to, and I come up and I say, what is it? What is it?
A form of bull-like creature with wings. Never seen anything like it. But, I mean...
Does it seem hostile?
Oh, most definitely. It's fallen through a tower, friend. Not in a good place.
Yes, but did it attack the tower? What is it doing up there?
I believe it crashed into it, but it looks already wounded. As if something brought it down and it came into the tower. Maybe another beast or something. Also, I mean, do you not know more of these creatures? Perhaps is not the bull a symbol of one of your faiths?
I know that.
Yeah, you would know about Stormbolt.
Yeah. Well, it is an ally.
All right, make a roll of your either devotion. Well, no, it wouldn't be devotion. It would be your cult lore, which is a skill on the back of your sheet. It's a knowledge skill.
Length, yes.
Yes, make a roll of that.
35.
So that might determine what you know about your cult and its gods and mythological creatures. 91. Nope, not ringing any bells.
We are not the lore masters today.
No.
And I shudder and I hear that cry coming again, and I think to myself, that is a bit of tragedy. If an animal has just crashed into the tower, and I start making my way up, let's see how it will react upon seeing us.
I shall allow him to move forward first. Caution favours the bold, in my view anyway.
It might be that we have a chance to gain a powerful ally today.
I am thinking to myself, do I think that it would be a bad thing or a good thing to bring back the head of this creature to our people? Based on maybe instinct rather than law, but maybe that's not good enough.
I don't know. Dead things are great. Yes. Generally, it could show that you were a powerful warrior that killed this thing, which is always good for a death god. But if it happened to figure into somebody's mythology in a good way, then you could, it would be like maybe showing up with the head of a baby cherub in a,
Yes, exactly.
in a Christian church,
and
and saying, "Look what I did."
It is something that can occur where one
or an
cult
angel
stands
wing
by,
and
yes.
saying, like, "Look."
Yes, exactly.
Imagine clans, man, imagine us coming riding down on a mighty winged bull back to our clan.
It would be a worthy deed, but you are going to need to tame this beast. It is not in a good state.
Oh, maybe we can befriend it somehow. I'll start moving up.
All right. The two of you get up. I mean, unless you're going to try to do anything out of the ordinary, are you going to try to do any stealthy or anything beyond...
A strange thought comes to me, and it is one that does not normally go with how I do things, but I do recall that my parents always told me that music can soothe the savage beast.
So they say.
Take out my harp. I shall try and play a tune. Perhaps it will at best distract it, but who knows, maybe it will make it slightly more palatable. After all, maybe we can help this beast. So yes, it is time to play my harp.
All right. You come up strumming.
67 is not good enough.
All right. Well, you're still playing. It does not seem calm, but as you approach, are you coming up first or are you?
I'm coming first, I think.
All right, then this is what you see. This magnificent creature, huge. It's quite big. Its size is around 40 or so, which is quite a bit, It's the size of a full-grown large bull. And it has this magnificent wing spread that, by earthly mechanics, there's no way that a wing spread like this could support a beast of that mass. But of course, we're in the mythic world where such things are great. And It looks like a winged aurochs, which is a type of bull that is present in your area. And you're going to. What are you going to do?
I want to try and soothe this animal, and I want to try to speak with my belief and my passion for my god, of Orlanth and the alliance that he has with Stormbull.
All right.
I don't know if it works there.
You could try. So you're going to augment your devotion, and I might ask you to look at your language skills. Those would be under communication.
Storm speech.
Storm speech is indeed the speech of flying things and the storm gods.
Well, that is interesting. I guess my rune thing for air and the elemental rune that I activated before is not affecting that anymore.
You were augmenting it specifically to try to give yourself more like speed of movement and
It was an
whatnot.
edge in
Yeah,
combat.
it has an edge in combat, whereas this feels like that would be a completely
This is
different
something
use.
else.
And it's also, it is kind of, you have invoked it this round.
Yes.
So I would say you'll probably want to do something else.
Does that relate to it? My devotion to Orlanth
Well,
and Storm speech?
yeah, storm speech is the holy language that Orlanth and his worshippers speak. You speak storm speech because that is Orlanth's language.
Because I follow him.
Yes. It's like your secret cult tongue.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
But I would like to try and invoke that then.
So then invoke your devotion.
Is it 26?
That is, I believe, successful.
Under 70, yes.
Your devotion is... Oh, yeah. So 70, absolutely. So now add 20 to your storm speech.
I move up and I address this creature and I say, Almighty Stormbull, what has brought you down today? As best I can.
What did you get?
I got 95.
You try to speak to it, and it just seems terrified. It's in pain. It's trying to get upright. You can see one of its magnificent wings is broken. Feathers are bloody. You can see its body has been raked a lot, and by wounds that almost seem to be festering as you get close. And its hide is sleek with sweat, and it looks just terrified. Its huge dark eyes. You realize very quickly that it's not actually afraid of you because you are speaking in a language and you're trying to soothe it, but it looks past you.
And I look behind me.
And you see behind you a group of 4 flying things moving very rapidly towards you. They look like birds at a distance, and they're flying very, very fast. And then as they get closer, you hear this hideous screech that just fills your ear, and it's coming from them, and you realize that there's something about them. Their upper bodies, they're not birds at all, but they are in fact these winged female creatures. They look like the heads of hideous, like hags, sharpened teeth, and the upper torso of a woman spreading out into wings. Their talons and their feet are extended, and they look very much like they are hungry for blood, and they are coming after their escaped prey.
Could I maybe roll an animal law check?
You could, sure.
30. And unfortunately it's 20.
Yeah, but this is pretty obvious. Those are harpies. And
Yes, of course. I raise my broadsword and shield and move to Armin's side and say, I believe that this fine beast is the prey and its hunters are coming.
And I glance around at the surrounding emptiness almost around us at this height. And I think to myself that I should have brought my composite bow from down there. But now all we can do is take up a defensive stance. Is there anything I can do that would aid my lightning rune magic?
your air rune, that's actually what you would... Well, what are you going to do with it? Basically, you've got a lightning bolt as part of your spell repertoire. Yes. You could invoke another passion to try to augment that. I will say one thing from up here. Wow, the view. Incredible. You can see why this spot is such a strategic value. And over there on the horizon, you see the red haze of the glow line that marks the territory that the Lunar Empire still holds. And yeah, I mean, there's a part of you, your spirit inside, that just seethes with anger at seeing that, even so far up. It's just like an ugly smear across the beautiful, rough, natural countryside of Tarsh.
I spit on the ground and say, I believe we're going to ready ourselves for battle, but perhaps I can move the advantage just a little to our side. And as I see these harpies approaching, I shall attempt to cast Demoralize.
All right, so your range is, I think it's 160 feet for... Spirit Magic has 2 ranged is 50 meters. So, you'll be able to cast that. You'll probably get about 2 rounds before they are able to attack you. And Rune Magic has a range of 160 meters. So it's quite a bit better. So if you want to do any Rune Magic before that, then by all means do so. If you're going to wait for Spirit Magic, you're going to wait until they are in that 50-meter range. And they are flying at full speed. So they're moving about 30 meters.
Knowing that I have some time, it probably would be better to actually cast True Sword first.
Okay.
So I spend a point.
Of magic? A magic point? Or is it a rune spell?
Oh, that's a rune magic.
Oh, so you'll spend a rune point. You have 3.
I do. So I shall do that, and then what do I roll?
You roll the associated rune for that.
Which, in this case, is Death.
Death.
So that then is 75, yes?
Yep.
Oh, very good. 23.
All right, with that, your sword takes on this just powerful emanation. I mean, and literally, if you weren't used to it, you would feel a chill down your spine. Your sword thirsts to reap souls.
Indeed, as I sort of see it, I hold it high, ready, but
yes.
When they come a little closer,
Yes.
I will also have a little demoralization spell ready.
Excellent. All right, what are you doing, sir?
Seeing how this enormous, magnificent creature might be a minion of an ally of my god, I take a defensive stance in between it and the harpies, and I start to rain out lightning through my hands, trying to bring them down from the skies.
Okay. Are you going to try to herd them to you, or are you just going to blast one of them?
I'm going to try to blast one of them out of there.
That's more traditional, the use for the spell.
Yes.
All right, if you can check the rune spell for your special rune spell, I think lightning is there.
Yes.
It does.
Summon Blast of Lightning, doing 1d6 per point cast to a single hit location of the target's POW. Is overcome. If the target's POW is overcome.
Okay.
Power. Yes.
I'm going to double check and read that, because that means that you could basically spend all your rune spells, or your rune points for this, and do 3d6 in damage, which is pretty epic.
Yes, that is the mind of Arim. He is in the mindset of epicness in this day. It is the time for great deeds. Only more spurred by our quick victory down there on the circle. And I do spend... I don't know how much I would need. I mean, what would...
I would say, I mean, my advice is...
If I want to kill a creature...
The creature, you would want to use all 3 points, or at least 2. And you would hope for hitting it in either the torso or the head.
That's what I'll do. I'll use all my spirit
If you
points.
hit it in either wing, it's probably going to fall.
I'm going to charge up a full blast of lightning, using all my 3 rune points to try and blast one of these harpies straight out of the air.
All right. Okay, so I'm just going to roll to see which one you are attacking. You will be attacking harpy number 2. Okay. So first, make your spell roll to see if you succeed in casting the spell.
Which is then the elemental rune affinity.
Yes, the rune associated with that spell. That is a special. So yes,
10.
Yes, you don't get anything extra for it, but what that means is the spell is cast without problem. So, depending on how well you do or not, it has nothing. How well your roll is, it's nothing. The universe acts for you, basically. And in this case, like Orlanth himself is superimposed over you. You know, like your skin turns bluish, runes glow upon you, like whatever rune tattoos you might have glow brightly, the ones associated with Orlanth. The sky darkens and lightning crackles from your extended weapon or your hand, whatever you choose to extend, and arcs out to try to strike one of these creatures. It succeeds because it is god magic. Of course it succeeds. If you can cast it right, it succeeds, and it blasts one of them. I would like you to first tell me where you hit it with a d20. Actually, a normal d20, because these don't configure to the human hit locations. That is its abdomen. So make your roll. You'll be rolling 3 dice 6 for damage. 4, 9, and 15. Well, to give you some RuneQuest rule, basically, it has 1 point of armor, which is removed from that, so your 15 becomes 14 points.
Actually, it goes, the lightning goes...
Oh, it goes through the armor, that's
Yes,
right. So yes, ignore the armor completely. It has 5 hit points in that location normally, so you have exceeded that by 3 times. You basically done exceeded its hit points doubly so. It is pretty much blasted in half at the abdomen. Like you blast it, and a moment later, the upper torso continues flapping for a second, and 2 charred legs and the tail feathers fall to the ground, and then the rest fall out of the sky. You can, it's a loud crack. You're practically deafened, and the bull roars when you do that. You literally just kill it in one epic blast. And yeah, darkened, charred feathers explode out from where it hit, and the 3 others, they look to each other, but they continue on, even further enraged by this indignity. They are going to feast well on your human bones.
Down to any contenders of our lands!
All right then, next round, what are you doing? They are approaching, they're screeching loudly.
I believe now could be the time for the demoralization. Now they are drawing very close, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. They are within range.
So 2 points from my spirit, so is that the charisma limit or something?
What's that? No, they go from your magic points.
I see.
If you're not casting a rune spell, are you?
No.
Yeah. Spirit magic just goes from magic points.
And how many did I start with?
You start with an equal number to your power.
Right.
So I should have circled that.
That's all right. No, so that's 14 then. There we go. So in that case, 14. Now it's on 12 plus 2.
All right, and when you hit 0, you fall unconscious.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah.
Because it's my spirit.
Yeah, you've exhausted all your vim.
Wonderful. So demoralization cast. What do I roll against power?
Yeah. You would roll against your power times 5. Oh.
That is a 4.
That is epic.
Yes, as I cast this spirit magic, I just called the wind, Hjalmar may very well eat your bones today, harpies.
So basically what happens is, in this round, you blast, you've demoralized the creature. And so what that means is for the next 2 minutes, we're going to have to do a very quick power versus power resistance roll. The creature, its power is not particularly high, and yours is
14.
Make a percentage roll. You succeed. Yeah, basically power versus power, or any resistance roll, is based on the notion that 2 equal forces have a 50-50 chance. Every 1 point of difference in the attribute is a 5% chance. Their power is 11, yours is 14, you have a difference of 3, so your 50 becomes 55, 60, 65. So any roll of 65 or lower would have beaten them. And so basically because you're the active one, they don't get to roll. So yes, one of the creatures, she is demoralized. She basically loses her ability to aid her allies in a fight, and so she won't attack. She will only defend if attacked, and so she sort of suddenly flutters and hangs back for a moment, and the other 2 keep going after her, or after you. So now the new round, in this next new round, you will be able to, you'll have one final round before you can, because they are traveling 30 strike ranks each one. So if you got it, or 30 meters each round, you acted within 50. Now 20, next round they'll be able to attack. What are you doing?
Well, having done shot one down in the first round, for the second one, I will be casting Blade Sharp, a spirit magic spell, which I could choose.
Yeah, how many
points I want to spend.
Well, which Blade Sharp do you have? Does it say Blade Sharp and a number after it?
It does say 2 points after.
Okay, so that means you can spend 1 or 2 points on it.
Okay, that's the top maximum.
Yes. You can cast, and Blade Sharp 2 adds 10% and I think 2 points of damage.
Well, let's try 2 points then.
All right, so yeah, make a luck, basically a power times 5 roll to see if you can cast the spell successfully. 69, I think, is above your ability.
It was 60, yes.
Okay, so then next round you can try again, but or you can try.
Do I still use my magic points? I guess.
No, you don't spend the magic points because you didn't fumble. If you fumble,
I can feel my arms almost shivering a bit from that large sort of outburst of energy, and I'm trying to find my focus, but I am unable to.
All right, then. This new round comes, they are going to be able to attack this round, but they're arriving because they're moving so much, they'll attack quite late in the round. You'll be able to cast your spell and strike if you are, what's your normal strike rank with your axe?
Is this a battle axe?
Yeah.
Yes, it would be 8.
Okay, so you should be able to cast, a 2-point spirit magic spell, yes. That'll move your strike rank to 10. They will be attacking at, so they will be attacking, but because they are both flying, it'll be a bit late. They are not throwing rocks at you or hurling dung at you, which is a tactic they like to use, because they're not being encountered on the ground or anything near things. So they're just going to be clawing at you, and that'll happen at the very end of the round. So then I will start with the strike rank counter again, and I'll go strike rank 1. If you're casting magic, that'll happen early. So strike rank 2, this is where your second attempt at casting your spell will happen, so make your roll. 06, success.
Yes.
You have indeed cast your spell, Blade Sharp. Your blade shines unnaturally. The edge it's almost like one of these gleams just runs along the blade, and it takes on a supernatural level of deadly sharpness. Now we get to strike rank 3. Anything?
I think I am just readying myself for
All right. Strike rank 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. All right, what's your strike rank?
What would tell me?
It would be SR under.
Broadsword, it's 5.
Okay, so that means you could strike at them as early as strike rank 5.
Right.
So, they basically present themselves all at once. It's like they are in the tower. They fly in. One of them, the 2 left, basically. One grabs onto the edge and it moves into range of your attack, and the other swoops directly down. For the sake of ease, one will attack each of you.
Very well. Let us begin by trying to, as it is strike rank 5, swing with my broadsword into this creature.
All right. So on strike rank 5.
So I
Make your
roll
move.
my broadsword skill, yes?
Yes.
That's a 12, and my broadsword skill is 80.
So that is a special. Let me see if either of these wicked beasts, this one that you were attacking, is able to dodge. RP 1 and 4. 1 is on you, 4 is on you. So you have tried. I'm going to see if it can dodge.
And for our listeners, that means that Harpy 1 is on Illaro.
Yes. And yes, Harpy 1 will attempt to dodge. She has a 65 chance, but she is dodging against a special attack, which means there's a very high chance she won't get it. She got an 83, which means she failed, so you will do the fullness of your broadsword attack. Your broadsword is a slashing style weapon, so a special attack does the weapon's damage plus damage rolled again. Yeah, a special attack versus a failed parry or dodge. Yeah, you roll your special attack. So roll your normal damage.
So that's 1d8 plus 1 plus DB.
Yes, but I don't think you have a damage bonus.
What would...
It would be right there.
I'm strength, but I'm not actually the strongest. Yes,
You're not strong and big. And those
Then do not forget the glow of your true sword.
Yes, which gives me double damage.
Yes,
So I twice. So basically,
yeah, so you will roll, and I think you roll twice for True Blade as well.
Yes.
So you'll basically roll. All right. So here's how we do it. You do a D8 plus 1.
4.
Okay, and now you roll that again.
8.
So 12 points, and now you will roll again. Let's see where you hit it. That's so 4, and then
16.
Keep going. One more.
1.
So 2 is 18 points total. Make a D20 roll to determine where you hit it. Here you go. If you want to use the yes, keep to your color spectrum there. 8. Ooh, that is indeed its chest. So your total damage was 18. Its chest, it's got 1 point of armor, so that's reduced to 17 because you still hit it. But it's got 6 hit points in its chest. So you've done a lot of damage. You pretty much killed it in one blow as well. You just, like, if you'd taken it to 0 hit points, that would incapacitate it. It would be unable to fight. If you took it to negative, it would be on the ground bleeding out to the point where it can't act. It's unconscious and dying. And then at that level, yes, you hew it practically in half. I mean, for the sake of dramatic. Yeah, your true sword sings, and it is a reaper's song. 2 halves of this harpy fall to the ground. You probably just cut it from shoulder to hip.
Yes, and let out a cry praising my God. Hopefully he has been pleased this day.
All right then. The 4th of them is upon you. It will attack, but you will be able to go before it because your spell cast costs 2. Your normal strike rank is 8. You dithered enough between the fight and between the tower, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I meant that your mobility spell had expired, but you'll go on strike rank 10. It will go on strike rank 11. So you'll get to go first.
I feel a jolt of satisfaction as I start to feel the singing of the blade and that my spell has pushed through, and also the slight draining of energy as this has gone into the weapon. And I move up without hesitation, getting in between the ball and the harpy, and I strike it down as hard as I can.
All right. Let's make this happen. Are you going to try to... You've already got an augment on you, right? Some sort of an effect boosting your ability. Is that still on, or are you...
My fighting ability... I was using
you tried to speak to it earlier.
I used the devotion to the All-Land to speak
so
my
in
soul
this,
speak.
I'm going to say that it probably still applies because you are acting. You very specifically mentioned
on
you spoke
behalf of my god. Yes, as a defending of one of the allies' minions.
So add that to your roll.
And that would be plus 20. You say then? Okay, that brings me up to 95.
It's quite good.
It's alright.
81. I will see if it can dodge. With a 28, it dodges. It sees its sister cut in half and screeches and falls back slightly outside of your range. Your blaze range. It screeches and comes at you with its claws. Are you going to try to parry or dodge or block with your shield?
I will try to bring up my shield, surprised at its sudden swiftness.
Okay,
yes.
So basically, because you are trying directly to parry with it, you'll roll a parry regardless of whether or not I succeed in my roll. So basically, tell me if you parry successfully, and then I'll tell you if she hits you.
And I roll on my shield now?
Yep.
That's a 35.
That's a success, and she fails. So you knock her back a bit. She's not knocked over or out of the sky, but you successfully get your shield in between her and your skin. So good for you. And she's, like I say, she leaps up at you with her claws. They're just long, raking, nasty things. You can smell the foulness on them, and you realize this is clearly the same weapons that tore into this magnificent sky bull here. And yeah, the claws just tear against the wood and bronze of your shield and tear through the leather covering. It was painted all beautifully with your clan colors.
Horrible screeching
yeah, and
sound.
she's trying to get her claws around the edge and flapping, and it's just on the top of this tower. It's just all at once, all these wings flapping, and the bull is roaring in pain at the same time, so it's quite a dramatic sequence here. And the sky, of course, is darkened as the result of all this summoning of wind and storm. We begin a new round. I begin at strike rank 1, and I feel like an auctioneer. Is anything happening at strike rank 1? 1. Who can say? Basically, any rune spells you would cast would happen now. You are out of rune points, so nothing will happen for you. And you have any left?
I do.
But maybe no
But
rune
not
spell.
really that.
Nothing useful.
Yes.
Okay. So then strike rank 2, if anyone's casting any spirit magic, this might come into play at this time. 3, 4, 5.
On 5, I shall see my companion having a little trouble and laugh. Ah, the battle has worn you out below. Come, let me deal with this. And I shall dart forward with my blade powered by pure death and strike at this second creature.
Do so.
On my broad
She's going to try to dodge.
23.
And her dodge fails. So you have succeeded in hitting her. You've still got your true sword up,
Yes.
but it will just do normal double damage.
Yes, so this time it's roll
just
my dice
normal.
twice.
Yes. So
6.
7 because of the plus
Oh,
1.
yeah, 7. 8, 9.
So 9 and 7 are 16. Oof. Give me a 20-sided roll to determine where you hit her.
1.
Oof, that would be the right leg. So make your damage was a total of 17.
Yes.
17, you hack the leg off. It just flies away as if lands on the ground, flopping, the claws still striking, and it takes a lot of damage.
Just as it was trying to reach over the edge of my shield, you swipe that leg off that it was trying to claw with.
Indeed.
As a matter of fact, it only has enough hit points that it... you do so many points above its hit points that, yeah, you cut it so deeply, it flaps to the ground, screeches, and in a moment or two of pain, it just dies. It only had 10 hit points, and so even when I subtract the maximum that the limb can take, that's enough to kill it.
And even though it's completely unnecessary, I of course go over to its corpse and hack its head off.
Brilliant. All right, in just a reverse sweep. The creature's hideous head rolls to the ground, and your breath is still panting. The wind is howling around.
When I look at the other harpy that's been circling around us, not wanting to engage us, what
It
should we do?
is just heading off. With a screech, it starts flying away. What are you doing?
I look at you and I just nod. And then I move.
And I say, 2 for me, 1 for you, brother.
Well, counting the one while you spaced down in the circle, I believe that's 2 at least.
Ta.
And I move over to the bull, the sky bull, and I try to not use my excitement from the fight to transmit it to it, but maybe it had understood that we actually defended it. I don't know how intelligent these creatures
You
are.
can make another a roll.
I am trying to now, Ian, focus, and I try to address it.
It's not stupid. But you don't know if it looks like it can speak.
No.
So
I try once again, and I try to remember the words, how to address this properly. And I say, we have defended you, mighty creature. Can we help you further to cure your wounds? That's what I try to say. And I roll 18 this time.
it allows you to get close, and it's breathing. I mean, you can even see blood on its nostrils. It starts calming a little bit. Now, from a healing point of view, you have the heal spell. That's part of your standard package of rune spells that you learn when you become a part of a cult. So you can you're out of rune points, but you have some.
Yes, well, I have it as my spirit magic healing.
Oh, you've also got spirit magic healing, which is the easy, quick way.
So I shall come to Amir's side, seeing that he seems to have calmed the beast. Yeah. I admit, it isn't quite in my nature to heal. I normally use it on myself.
Well, then you could roll a passion for your death god and see if that puts you in conflict.
Yes.
And now you can act. You're a free agent to do what you want, but your character, their belief may be affected by, like, if you choose to act against that.
Right. So
and you can also pit traits against traits. This is the fun thing about these. They're sort of
yes.
like you can say, well, my love of my clan overrides my obsession with death. You know.
Exactly. Well, maybe we'll do that, because maybe I am thinking that this is for the good of the clan.
So what I would like you to do is I'd like you to make a death roll at this point.
Yes.
All right.
21.
Everything in your nature is saying all things must die. But you can try, like, make a roll of clan.
Yes.
Clan loyalty or...
We've already used clan loyalty, so let's say family loyalty.
Okay, family loyalty.
Because my family is the clan, and
yes. Well, your family is your like mother, father, sister, brother.
Yeah.
Your clan is your cousins and the people who live in your little town.
Oh yeah, maybe. I mean, again, well, can I roll it again? I've already used it once this session.
Oh yeah, you can roll it
okay.
again. Yeah, this is just testing it. You're not using it as an augment.
In that case, I will go forward, and yes. It is natural that things die. Even though this creature is powerful, the fact that it has allowed itself to get to this state, if it cannot get itself out of it, it should not be interfered with. But I do look to Amir, and I do think the clan, this could be important. I roll 81.
I mean, obviously you're free to do what you want to do, but no overwhelming like death is saying death. You don't feel a particularly strong, eager response to aid your clan in this. I mean...
I will simply watch and say aloud, we have done our part for you, beast. You are truly worthy of us. You will aid us or not, or you will die. It is your choice. And then I kind of blink a little, aware that it probably didn't understand a word I said, and sort of just look at Amir like, it's my stance, brother.
And I nod gravely, regretting almost that I used all my runic power to bring down that foe in a flash of trying to harness the day's mighty deeds. And I turn to the beast, and I'm thinking, what can I do for it? Can I...
You can try first aid. I mean,
yes.
There's always just binding its wounds and
yes.
cleaning its wounds.
I wish to aid you, creature, I try to say to it.
It's rumbling, you can tell. I mean, it's understanding that you're not going to try to hurt it.
Yes.
And the fact that the things that killed it are in pieces on the floor
yes.
of the tower top give indication to your good intentions.
Yes. So, I bring up from one of my bags, I bring out some bandages or some piece of cloth that
whatever
I can
you think you would have. Since you knew you were going into a duel, and you are a professional skirmisher,
yes.
basically you've probably got bandages.
Yes. Is there anything I could use to channel that as well?
Well, there are a number of abilities that you could probably use. If you have a fertility, if you have the
yes,
if you have the earth rune, that's good for healing because it connects with animals. If you could always try to invoke your fire sky rune if you've got fire at all.
No, I do not.
Okay.
But I do have I've got 50 harmony, so it's 50-50, I suppose.
That would be good for calming it or getting it to feel better. But ultimately, fertility would be the thing. Or even beast might help calm it if you have the beast rune.
I have a little bit of beast. But the highest one is probably fertility or earth, it's the same. I try to channel my fertility rune.
Okay, so you
bring
basically...
down the help of... Yes.
Yeah, you're basically trying to reaffirm life within it.
Yes.
You know. You don't want it to go have babies, but you want it to
yes.
live rather than be infected
yes.
and ill. From
preserve
this.
life. And I understand that my clansman here has another stance of things, and I accept that. If it will live, it will live. And I roll a 59, so that's unfortunately over my...
Okay, so
I cannot channel the fertility.
No, but you can at least try to make a first aid roll.
Yes, I will try.
That's on your knowledge skills.
Yeah.
04. Wow. And what was your skill?
Not high, so that was good. 30.
All right, that's still a special success. So, in fact, good for you. That means that you basically roll. Normally, you restore 1d3 hit points to a hit location that has been injured or general. But because you have got a special success, that is extra nice. 2d3 hit points are restored to the creature. So roll these 2 dice and divide each by half and round up.
I watch him heal the creature, and
all right, so
while I have my stance of death, I do acknowledge that physical healing, if it works on it, and proves itself worthy.
You managed to clean. You've got some water, like a water skin, so you managed to clean some of the foulness out of its wounds and dress them, and it seems to be breathing more easily. It looks like its wound is, its wing is still either broken, and you're not sure how that would go about. When the sky, as you were doing this all, it continued to get a little darker to the point where as you were trying to clean things, rain was falling upon you, and that even helped you a little bit in the cleaning because there's nothing like fresh, clean rainwater to help wash things out. And then at a certain point, lightning begins striking the hilltop, and even though you do worship a sky god, it's kind of something to be in a very high place in the mountains when lightning begins crashing down. And there's a certain point where lightning strikes, like there's a little, in the middle of this little rooftop observation area, there was a stone brazier for fires to keep, like either be a signal fire or to keep the people warm at night on those cold nights of watching. And lightning strikes that, like in the center of it. And it is an unnatural lightning that goes for like a second or two. And the sound of the thunderclap is it's practically a physical assault because it's happening so close to you and it's instantaneous to the point where your vision is just burning with this blue light that has come from this lightning strike that hits this. And when you sort of look up, and in the blink you can almost see just the vaguest sensation of Orlanth himself, the god, your god, above you, like just in the sky above, stretching his arms out, and he reaches down and scoops, like just sort of passes his hand over this bull. And then with that moment, the lightning ceases, and you stop, and like grows quiet again. Your ears are probably still ringing from this, but you notice in the pit where this the fire normally would burn, it's like sparks are flying out of it, and it's almost like short, small, crackling lightning. Seems to just almost like a ball of lightning just keeps going there, and it keeps lasting and lasting. And you think, every bit of your instinct is that this is a special thing. This is the god of storms has just placed a visible sign of his favor on this spot. Almost a beacon or a hearth or something like that is constantly giving out electrical sparks and showering little bits of lightning. And the creature itself, it sort of shakes, and its wings snap out to their full extent, and then it leaps from the side of the tower, flaps its wings, and then you can see it flying off. It is still injured, but it is not, its wing has been restored. And with that, it heads off into the rain and the storm, and you are left on this tower top in the storm, rain falling around you, dead harpies scattered, 2 of them on the ground of the tower, and one of you has a banner to hang.
I look at the storm, I look at the dead harpies. I have been awed by the sight of a god I do not worship, but I still respect. But I only hope one day my god will show himself to me. And I will laugh, say, well, Stormbearer, I feel you are the one who should be hanging that banner, eh?
I say, very well. And I roll it out, and I place it up on the tower of Storm's Eye.
You have listened to a special episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we played the adventure Contested Ground for RuneQuest. Our game master was Jason Durall, who is line editor for RuneQuest over at Chaosium, who are the publishers of the game. Our adventure was set in the world of Glorantha that was created by Greg Stafford, whose massive influence on this hobby cannot be overstated. The music was created by Halgrath and is used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Please check out cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for more of their lovely dark ambient. Finally, a big thank you to all of our Patreon backers. Creating all this content would not be possible without your generous support on Patreon. You give us so much energy, help us cover our costs, and open up time to record and edit. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you.